Shut up and sit down.
Hello, welcome to Chapter Zero Podcast, a chaotic exploration of writing a world. I'm one of your hosts, Megan.
And I'm your host, Lily.
And this is our podcast. So this is our first episode.
So a little bit about what we're trying to do with this podcast, or like what
is happening.
Our goal is.
Yes.
Is we both are writers.
Yes.
And we like to take apart other people's writing,
yes.
Trying to like figure out what makes it good.
I guess because we just like spend a lot of time talking about stuff that we've read and how it influences us, and like asking each other like, oh, should I do this? And then we're like, well, this book does this.
Yeah.
We just decided, why not record these conversations so that other people who maybe like doing this. But yeah, that's a little bit what this is going to be. I'm sure it will evolve.
Each episode, we're probably going to just choose one element of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're talking about prologues. But then each week it'll be something different.
And then we'll just like probably talk about what we think it is, probably where it started, what books or TV shows or movies used them. It'll just be kind of like a conversation about it.
And then each week we'll also talk about some things that we're watching, some things that we're reading, maybe things we're listening to, and then give recommendations. And maybe recommendations that have to go along with what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's a new idea.
Yes, okay. Let me write that down.
Okay, cool.
Fun.
Prologues.
Oh, so you had definition.
I pulled up a definition of it because we just wanted to see where they came from when they started doing it. So the invention of it actually came to a guy, and I might pronounce this incorrectly, is Euripides. How would you pronounce that?
Euripides? I don't know.
Anyway, he prefixed a prologue to his plays as an explanatory first act in order to make the upcoming events in a play comprehensible to the audience. And so other dramatists followed in his footsteps, and a prologue became a part of the traditional formula for writing plays.
Okay, so it started with plays, and it's kind of like a spark notes of like, this play is going to be about this, and it's going to have this and this and this. So it's like, I guess just like a little like summary of the book, which is kind of interesting because that's not what they are anymore.
No, not at all.
Well, some of them are, but not a lot of them because there are a lot of different prologues that can happen.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different types you can do, but I feel like overall, all prologues just give you like a taste of what the book's going to be, like the tone of it.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well, because... Oops. Don't mind my kombucha. Wow,
that was such a gross sentence.
I really hated that for everyone. We're cutting that out. Okay. Well, prologues are like, at least for me when I'm reading something, if I don't like the prologue, I will put the book down. And a lot of people skip the prologue.
That's okay. That's a good point, because I find that so interesting. Because why? So I do that for. I feel like I have done that before for more school-related stuff, where it's more
like.
What's that word?
It's more like summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually...
Or like textbooks, I feel like have prologues for some odd reason, and I usually skip those. But if I'm reading a book, a fictional piece of work, I'm going to read that.
Really? I usually I skip it because if it's too long, then I'll skip it because I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I will find out later. And then, but like...
That's true.
When I'm writing something... Like, if I'm writing something, I like to drop hints in the prologue for something that will happen later, just because I, like, want to fact check if people are reading, if someone's going to read it. I'm like, did you read the prologue? And do you remember when I mentioned this very obscure piece, like, detail that is only in the prologue? And then if you don't, it doesn't really ruin it. It's just like, oh, here's this. But if you read the prologue, it's like, whoa.
That's,
the rowback. But, like... I obviously don't know if this is going to work because no one's ever read any of my whole thing because I haven't finished the whole thing yet.
Yes.
Cool.
But it will eventually
work out. But
no, and mine, I don't have, well, interesting. This is a new way you can do it. I don't have a prologue.
Mm-hmm.
I have one paragraph
Uh-huh.
that sets the scene of what is happening in chapter 1.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Just one paragraph, and I don't call it a prologue.
Oh, you have any header for it? Or
No.
It's just there.
It's just one
It just
paragraph. I
says
mean, that might
words.
change as we go along, but as of right, it's just one paragraph. of
Okay,
words.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Because,
And then it's chapter 1, the next page.
yeah.
Which I feel like has been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think for a play, a prologue that's like a summary of what the play is makes sense, because unless people have like a program for it, there's no like, you can't look at the back of the book and see like, what's this about? Because now that you can look at the back of a book and see a summary, like you'll be able to, what are you doing? Like if you look at the back of the book, you can see like the little summary of like what it's about, or you look at like the hardcover and you see the little, I don't know what that's called.
Synopsis.
Yeah, but like what's that part of the cover that flips over the edge?
Jacket.
The jacket, the inside of the jacket of the book, then you can see what it's about, and then you can read that and decide. So like people writing books have a little bit more of a like they can take more liberty with their prologue.
Yeah.
And usually the ones that I like best are shorter.
I do too. I just want like a little
Just
taste.
give me
I don't need, because otherwise you might as well have it as a full chapter, you know?
right? Just give me like a snippet of suspense where I'm just like curious enough to know like what the frick is happening
Yeah.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, or I guess now we could, this is a segue. Now we can segue into like examples of prologues that we like.
Yeah.
So like, as everyone listening to this podcast will probably come to know, the Spiderwick Chronicles is like the Bible to me. I love those books. They're so iconic.
I have not read them.
You should.
Okay.
You can probably read them in like in one sitting, because there's 5 books, but they're all like maybe 90 pages, and the text is really big, and there's pictures because they're written for like 4th graders.
Oh, okay.
I read them when I was like 7. Shout out to Holly Black, love her.
Did she write them, or she
Yes.
just illustrated them?
She wrote them, and then Holly Black, author of right now Cruel Prince, that trilogy.
Cruel Prince,
And she has a lot of other fairy books because she loves fairies, and I love that for her and for me. I did meet her when I was 7.
That's cool.
She's very nice. But those books, the prologue is like a letter to the reader from Holly Black and the guy who does, I don't remember his name. I'll remember it and edit it in. You're welcome. Like the prologue is like a letter to the reader from the authors, talking about like, oh, like I heard like the children who are in this story, like they told me their story, so I'm just writing it down.
So that's like a forward word.
Yeah, but it's the prologue, where it's like the author like fully breaks the 4th wall and is like, this is a true story about fairies, and the people who I'm writing this book about like came to me and were like, tell my story. And so like that was really interesting, because when I was 7, I was like, whoa, this is factual right now. Even though this book was from the fiction section, I'm taking this as the word, like it is real, which I think is very like that's also like that sets a certain tone.
Yeah.
Of the book. It also like lets you know that all the people in the book survive. So spoiler. But
spoiler alert,
but like,
nobody dies.
It was a book written for 7-year-olds. I don't think there's death in books written for 7-year-olds. Unless it's the bad guy. I don't know.
Or a dog.
Ooh.
I feel like they kill
They
dogs
kill
a lot.
dogs. They really do. Wait, you're right.
Right? They kill dogs.
There's a lot of books about animals, and the animal usually dies. Why do they do that to 7-year-olds? Because
to get them ready for life.
Okay, but like dogs dying is sadder than a human dying, because the dog doesn't understand the concept of death. Like a dog can't.
So that's less sad.
No, it's more sad, because it's like if a human understands like and the concept of death, and then they like are ready to go, and they're like, I'm gonna go, like it's okay.
But
like,
a human understands that they're dying. A dog doesn't know.
Well, the dog just feels pain and then no longer exists on the mortal realm or whatever. I think it's sadder that he doesn't understand, because then there's I imagine a level of panic going through the dog's mind.
Okay.
Not understanding
now
what's
we're just
going
being
on.
super sad.
I know.
So go back to your Spiderwick Chronicles.
Basically, that's just an interesting prologue, is what that is.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay, the first prologue that comes to mind for me is Six of Crows.
Okay.
Because,
solid book.
Okay, so that book, which I don't have in front of me, I cannot remember if it's chapter 1 is Joust.
I think it's chapter 1.
Or if it's prologue, that's just him. Either way, I feel like
that's the opening.
That's the opening. And I feel like books that give you a different point of view in the beginning are, in a roundabout way, giving you a prologue. Because it's not following the actual people that the story is going to be about.
Yeah.
You know, it is a prologue. It's just in the form of chapter 1.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the book.
Chapter 1 prologue are a little bit
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're setting the scene. But that's just the one that comes to mind because it's so like, you're like, what is happening? Why is this guy important? If you haven't read Six of Crows, first of all, do that like yesterday.
It's by Leigh Bardugo,
who we met.
We met her. It was so exciting. Oh my god.
That's the coolest thing that's ever happened.
She's very nice.
She's a lovely woman.
I love her.
But it follows 6 people, and it's written, each chapter is from a different perspective. And so the first one you get in the form of the prologue is this character Joust.
You never get again.
You don't get again.
No.
But you don't know that yet.
He is important.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's so interesting because you're like, at least for me, I came away from that chapter wondering, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? And why, because obviously if it's published in the novel, the author is like, this is important.
Yeah.
So, like, why is he so important? And so that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I actually like it when prologues are kind of like, I have no idea what's happening.
Right.
But I'm entertained.
Right? Because then you want to know it together.
Yeah.
Because that is how it's.
And I did like Joust or Joust or however the heck you want to pronounce that. His
name.
It's like J-O-O-S-T.
The audiobook said Joust.
Okay. Joust is better than Juiced.
So
it's probably Joust. But I liked him, and it was really, really well written. And so automatically I knew I was just going to like her writing style.
Right? It's like, I feel like, whether, like, whatever style it's in, the prologue, like, sets the tone.
Yeah.
And so you want to have a good tone.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like, if the person doesn't like the tone of the book, like, if you're trying to write, like, a mystery novel, like, like, mystery novels are hard because
they are.
You want to be sus.
But I feel like a lot of mystery novels have prologues.
Right? And the prologues usually give away.
Or think about prologues in terms of this. Criminal Minds.
Okay.
Or Law and Order.
Good show.
Or all of those shows.
Yes.
Any murder, they have prologues.
Where the murder
because they show you
happens.
the murder. And they show you like a little bits of information surrounding it.
Yeah.
They show you how that person died.
They
or
show,
what happened to them.
They like show you.
That's the prologue.
Right?
Yeah.
They like show you they literally, like, the prologue is literally like a snippet of the climax of the story.
Yeah.
But then they don't reveal enough so that you know what's going on. So then you're just like intrigued. That's a really good point because Criminal Minds does that every time.
It does. And then Bones. Did you ever watch Bones?
I did watch Bones.
Yes. That always shows you how they find the body.
Yeah.
Usually. And so it's giving you this big piece of information that's like the hook of the story.
Right.
Feeding why you're going to want to watch it.
Okay. Because now that makes me think
and then you get it later.
The prologue of Ninth House.
Yeah.
Also written by Leigh Bardugo.
The Queen.
It's her first, I would call it new adult.
Yeah.
Into adult book. And that's when we met her because we went to on her book tour. It was so exciting. But the prologue is like, the way that she has the book written out is every chapter is designated by the time. So it's like early spring, fall, winter, whatever. So we get the prologue taking place in early spring, and then we get this like snippet of just like kind of chaos.
It is chaos because you have no idea what's happening.
It's chaotic and like,
but it's a lot of stuff where you're like, okay, I need to know what's happening.
Right, and but there's a lot of like pointing to like a plot, and then you rewind back in time. So that's another thing that prologues do is they change they flash forward or they flash back.
Yeah.
To something that is of importance.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be funny if the prologue just didn't have anything to do with the book at all?
Or if it was just like some kids like eating at a cafe and then chapter like 27, the main characters just walks by this kid.
Eating the cafe. That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because then you'd be looking for.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be really good if
That
you were
would be
writing a
interesting.
mystery novel. Is you like do
Misdirection.
if you like mislead them by writing a really sus prologue that really has no
no rhyme or reason.
It doesn't even matter with the plot. That would be kind of funny.
That would
I would
funny.
laugh. I would laugh if I had written it. If I was reading it, I'd be so mad.
Yeah, I'd be like, what?
I'd be like, what is this prologue even doing?
Although,
here?
you know what, though? I find that sometimes I forget prologues.
That's true.
If
I forget them until they throw it back.
If they're set at around a different person or a different time, and it doesn't come up later, I will forget.
If it doesn't come up, I will forget what it is. But
even if it has to do with the story,
if they bring it up, then I'll be like, oh. Well, that's what that was.
Which
okay.
I feel like that's an important part of a prologue.
Is to foreshadow.
Is to foreshadow or to have it come full circle somehow.
That's true.
You know.
Right?
Because otherwise you don't need it.
That's really true.
You know, which is another good point. Like when you need a prologue, when you don't need a prologue.
Right? Although, because now I'm looking at our notes, and we wrote down HP for Harry Potter, which doesn't really have prologues, but it does a couple times in a few of the books. Actually, all of the books, except for 2 and 3, are from a different person's perspective for chapter 1. Because the first one is Uncle Vernon's point of view, which everyone forgets about because it's the first book. About it. But like the 4th book, they start with that like old dude at the Riddle House, and then he gets dead.
Yeah.
He gets dead. Okay, and then the 5th one is. The fifth one is really interesting. It's either the 5th one or the 6th one where it opens. Oh, it's the 5th one. They open it from the Prime Minister of London's perspective. Do you not remember this?
No.
And then and it's literally just like the Prime Minister. It goes through the Prime Minister's journey of because the Prime Minister like knows the Minister of Magic, because it's part of the job is that the Minister of Magic like comes to the Prime Minister of Muggles and is like, this is what's up, and like don't be alarmed if like a dragon enters your city because we've got it under control. And it's like basically it just like the first chapter like timelines the Prime Minister like from the first time he meets Cornelius Fudge to when he meets the new Prime Minister that's elected in the 5th book. Because and then it like talks about how like one time the Prime Minister showed up and was like, oh my gosh, like this and this and this is happening, which is like points to the 3rd book. And then it basically just like fleshes out the world and then if you were ever wondering like how do they explain these large magical catastrophes to the Muggles? Yeah. And then you learn, and that's really interesting. And I guess it's not really a prologue, but it fills some holes, which I guess that has to do with the fact that like it's in a series. Yeah, that is a little bit different when it's in a series. Yeah. I mean, but I don't know. That was always one of my favorite chapters because it because it's just so incredibly random that it's in there, but then it like helps fill some holes that you might remember. Because then the 6th book is from Narcissa Malfoy. Because she and this is in the movie, because she and Bellatrix go to see Snape and are like, help, my son. And then he's like, it's fine, I'll do it. I don't know why I just made him a little bit Italian. That's fine. Snape is not Italian. No. And then the 7th book is from Snape's perspective, which is fun.
Harry Potter is amazing. Harry Potter is like childhood.
It really is. Yeah. And I know that which is really it's weird thinking about like the new generation that don't really have that in the same way, because they can't go into it. It's not as mysterious because all the movies and all the books are out. Yeah, and they are making like the Fantastic Beasts. We're going on a tangent. We are. They are making the new Fantastic Beasts one, so I feel like kids would watch Harry Potter maybe because their parents are like, you need to see these because the Fantastic Beasts is a prequel to Harry Potter. Oh, I see what you've done. Yes, but even though they're not a good prequel. I mean, okay, I love those movies because of the aesthetic and because Anybody Made is
And yes,
amazing.
him.
Like, the acting is great.
Yeah.
And some parts of the storyline, like, I think the magical creatures part is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the general plot line is really chaotic and like, what is going on.
I don't know where they're going. It seems like they're getting to like weird wizard Nazi territory.
They're doing a weird time. They already got into wizard Nazi territory with Voldemort, but like they're getting more.
Fast.
They're getting more into it because now they're referencing the actual Nazis, which is like this is becoming a little like weird. But I like them because of nostalgia and because like James Newton Howard does the soundtrack and he's amazing. Yeah. But even then, like, I don't know. It's just like something about like, because when we were little, not all the books were out either. Mm-mm. I don't know when the last Harry Potter book came out. I'm gonna look it up.
I know the last movie was 2011.
Yeah, the last movie came out,
and so the last book probably came out a year before that because they were making the movies as she was writing the books.
That's true. That's really true.
So I'm not sure. Maybe like 2009, 2010.
Maybe. I know that the first one was before we were born. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or maybe not. Maybe like a year. The year we were born.
I don't know.
Because I know Harry Potter, the movie, the first one, was one of the first movies I saw in the theater.
Yeah.
Like of my life.
So
that must have been in 2001. One? The very first movie.
You saw it in you were 1 year old.
That's the first movie I saw in theaters. Yes.
To the movie theater.
Yeah.
I was afraid of movies. Okay. Well, we don't have to get into that. Why doesn't it say when the frick it's published? I just want to know.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to find it.
But,
you keep talking.
Okay, I might move on to a different topic.
Do it.
But kind of going off what you're saying about giving background information, I think it's nice when the prologue gives you information about the world. Especially for fantasy novels, which are like my favorite genre, I'd say. Fantasy. It's so fantasy, yeah. It's so hard sometimes to get into the world. Because you can just be thrown in chapter 1 and you're like, I have no idea how this system works. If there's magic, I don't know how this magic system works. And I don't know the rules of it, and I don't know. Did you find it? What is it?
The first one came out in 97.
Okay.
The next one, 98. 99, Prisoner of Azkaban. 2000, Goblet of Fire. 2003, Order of the Phoenix. That must have been so rough to have Voldemort come back from the dead in 2000 and then have to wait 3 freaking years to find out what happens.
There's a 3-year gap?
2000 to 2003. The second one is a 2-year gap. Because Order of the Phoenix to Half-Blood Prince is 2 years. And then Deathly Hallows came out in 2007. So 2 more years. Like, think about having to wait 2 freaking years and think about how fast it is to write that thick of a book in 2 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The first movie came out when Goblet of Fire came out. The first movie is in 2001 or something.
Yeah,
2000.
I think 2000.
Because they started making the movies during that 3-year gap between Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense that there's a gap there.
That's why. This is another tangent that's really important. That's why the space, the timing, like 2000 to 2003, that's when the most fan fiction was written because fans didn't know what to do. And let me tell you, there's some really funny stuff going on in that time period because people just had too much time on their hands and it was just weird. Anyway, back to fantasy.
Going back to fantasy. Prologues are a good way to give the reader context of what's happening. An example is The Crown's Game.
Okay, I have not read this.
It's by Evelyn Skye, I'm pretty sure. If I got that wrong, we'll just cut that out. Pretty sure it's Evelyn Skye.
Okay.
And it's about The Crown's Game. And it's set in this fantasy version of Russia.
Oh.
So it does base stuff on historical events that happen in Russia, like the czars and everything. But the prologue, that I'm not even positive she labels a prologue, but is explaining what the Crown's Game is, explaining the history of it.
Okay.
So when you go into it, you don't need characters which is like an info dump. You don't need an
info dump via dialogue. That's my least favorite.
Yeah. And they just try to explain stuff. And so I feel like the prologue is a really good way of, if you have a lot of information, just put that in like a neat little thing in the beginning, you know, which I think works. And we kind of do that.
We do.
Side note, with our other friend Drew.
He might be a guest on some of the podcasts.
Yes.
If you can be on time.
As well as our separate projects, we work on one together.
Yes.
Which is a like urban fantasy.
It's an urban fantasy. It's not quite a series. It's more like a collection of books that take place within the same world. So what we did was that's kind of also why we wanted to make this podcast, is because like we had such a good time like world building together and like figuring out what exactly we needed to make that world. So we like created a world. We like looked at like religion and society and what do the people do? What do they wear? What are the aesthetics? Like what music do they listen to? And then we like made that world, created rules, created a historical timeline, and then picked different points in history to write about. And so like, I don't know whenever that will be finished.
Yes, but what we do in the beginning is all three of us have the same prologue type thing where we give the reader information. Yeah. Because it's really complex.
There's a lot going on, and it's like we all kind of agreed that it didn't flow well to sporadically info dump, because sometimes it works. Like Leroy Dugan in Six of Crows does that, where she like, even though she uses the prologue to create mystery, but then she does info dump. Like, I wouldn't call it dump. She info sprinkles. She sprinkles. Confetti. Yes, she does sprinkle that confetti within, and it works because I've read too many things in which they don't have a prologue, and then the first 3 paragraphs of the first chapter are just like straight world building and straight explaining everything that's going on, and then
that's a good way to lose your reader. If you do that.
Because
like I don't care.
Then you get confused, and you're just like, what's happening? So
because for our book series, I mean, we're not going to say too much about it, but it involves.
We can say stuff about it.
Okay,
we
don't
have to say specifics. Yeah.
So unspecifically, but it does have a magic system within it, and levels of like social class and stuff like that. That's very prominent throughout the whole book, but it just wouldn't work, I think, having characters explain it. So
and like it ruins at least for my segment of what I'm writing, like it loses the vibe. But anyway.
So when do you think prologues are necessary and when they're not? Like if someone wants to write a book, like because I had this problem when I was writing, because I was like, do I need a prologue?
Yes.
Should I have a prologue? Is it unnecessary? In your opinion, what do you think?
Well, when I was starting my individual project, I at first didn't have a prologue, and then I would like reread the first chapter to like edit it or something, and I was like, wow, this is really gross, because now there's I don't have enough world building, but it sounds gross to put more world building. World building, speaking is hard in the first couple chapters, because then there's just too much going on. And then I was like, well, because I had this big glaring, like, there's this one like continuing mystery that is through the first book of my project or whatever, that I really had no way to just like insert into the book. And so then I made it the prologue, like I alluded to it in the prologue, which worked. So I would say, like, if you have a significant mystery or something that needs, like, pick something that is like a big reveal, I would say, and then decide, like, how important is it for your readers to know right off the bat? Yeah. Like, is it something that you want them to have in mind? Because if it is, then I would put it as a prologue. But that was also what I was going to ask you, is, like, how do you make your prologue mysterious? Like, if you need your prologue to be mysterious, like what do you do? Because I know what I think works, but, like, I wonder what you think works.
Well, I've never written, like, a prologue. I didn't want to, so I didn't.
Yes, I love that.
So I didn't do it. What I had was a first chapter that I hated everything about. Yes. Other than the opening paragraph.
Your opening paragraph is good. I've read the opening paragraph. Okay. It is good.
You've read my whole opening paragraph and first chapter.
Yes, it is quality.
And so they take place on the same
Mhm.
day, and it's about the same event.
Yes.
One is just a summary of what the event was.
Yes.
Because I needed to give context to what happens after.
Mm-hmm.
If that made any sense at all.
I think so.
It might make sense to you because you've read it.
You know what? It's okay. This is our first episode. We're really trying.
Okay. So I needed something that would give context to what's happening after. Because I think if you don't need a prologue, you should not put one in.
Yes.
I totally believe that.
Yeah, because if you are putting a prologue because you think you need one, then you're just gonna it's gonna be bad because you.
I think it needs to.
There are no shoulds in writing.
Really, there is not.
There are no shoulds. Like there's no designated structure that has to be followed because if
you don't even have to number your chapters.
You really don't. The Road by Conrad McCormack, I think that's his name. He doesn't do a single quotation for any of his
you don't need
any of his dialogue. The characters don't have names. There's chapters I think, but I don't think they're numbered. They might be, but they're not titled. That's for sure. And that book is really famous and very good. Yes. So like you really don't have to do anything.
There are no rules, but yet we are going to talk about
the rules that we have. So,
but anyway,
the moral of the story,
as I was saying,
anarchy
is if you want to put a prologue in just to have a prologue, don't put a prologue.
Yes,
that's your answer. But if you are going to do a prologue, make sure it is essential to the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving you like driving the story forward. Mm-hmm. It sets the tone.
Oh yes.
What else?
I would say I don't want to say don't write everything you want to say, but also for the prologue, if it's really long, there's only so much suspense. You can't draw out suspense for a 20-page prologue.
Yeah.
I would say short and to the point.
Yes, it needs. I think keep it to a page and a half, maybe 2 pages at the most.
A page 8 and 11. Like a Google document page.
Okay, yes.
Because I don't know how to...
Yeah.
That's how writing happens. But, yeah, I agree with that. Because, I mean, all of the prologues that I think we've talked about that we like are pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty short and to the point. And they all have an element of mystery, of intrigue.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a mystery novel, even if it's an adventure or a drama or a romance or anything, or a contemporary novel. We don't really talk about those.
No, because we don't read those.
We really don't like them.
I also don't know why in a contemporary novel,
unless it's mystery.
Which is a different genre.
That's true.
But if you're doing a contemporary novel, the only reason why I could think you'd need a prologue is for time.
Mm-hmm. I think there's one in Paper Towns.
There might be.
I don't remember.
But it's for time.
I didn't feel particularly jazzed about that novel.
Yeah, background.
But yeah.
Okay. So I would say if you are trying to figure out prologues, the best thing to do is just read prologues of other books.
Yeah.
Go through your whole entire bookshelf, pick out every single book, and just flip and either read the prologue or read chapter 1.
Yeah.
And just see what it does.
And pick out what you like.
Yeah. Also, specifically books you've read would be good to do, because then you can see.
And do what you like, because obviously what we like does not have to be what everybody else likes.
These are our opinions.
These are
just
to clarify. These are just our opinions. This is what we think.
We're 2 college students. We don't know what we're talking about.
We should have put that in our opening. That's okay. We are 2 college students. We're
literally
19 years old. We just like to read and like to write. And we like to talk about books and writing, and so we just thought we would share that with everyone because we really love it. But also, we are very young and we are very inexperienced in a lot of ways, and we do not speak gospel. Yeah. We are not Jesus.
This is just our inner thoughts becoming outward thoughts.
I mean, that's what podcasting is. I guess. It's saying something that you think you should say. But basically, if you're trying to write something, make sure that you're writing it for you, first and foremost, because if you try to write it for other people and and think about I'm trying to please other people or I'm writing this for other people, then it's really not gonna
it's not
be as
good.
impactful because you have to write for you. Because if you like to write, you like writing because you like writing for you and it's healthy for you. And that's just me getting really deep.
That's our dose of inspiration.
There you go.
All right.
Write for yourself. Okay.
Let's get into what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to?
Okay.
Go ahead, Megan.
All right, cool. Here's the recommendation bit of the show. For watching, I am watching Grey's Anatomy because we go to college in Seattle and I said this will be fun. And it actually is. And they have really interesting storytelling techniques because it can be very repetitive because it's like there's a formula to it, which I kind of like. It's a nice little background show. But I'm watching that.
Have you seen any movies recently?
I have not seen any except for Rocket Man, which is an amazing movie about Elton John. It is very good. I love it a lot. I've watched it so many times now. The music is amazing.
Elton John.
He really... Eggsy from Kingsman really learned how to play the piano for
he
that
really
film.
Sung
He
really well. He did a really good job in that movie.
Gosh, that movie is very good. It also just... It makes you feel so good by the end.
I'm a big fan of the biopics.
Oh, it's very good.
Which seems to be like an up and...
It really does.
A very popular genre.
They're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because Bohemian Rhapsody I heard was good too.
Queen is my favorite band. I'm wearing a Queen shirt right now.
She is.
That was a good movie.
Is a good movie.
Good music. Yeah. I like those.
How
about reading?
Books. Okay, so I just finished Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. A girl, her name is Alex Stern, who kind of she goes to Yale, and she's brought to Yale because the secret societies there want her, which is, Yale actually has secret societies, but Leigh Bardugo says, what if they actually practiced magic? So there is magic, and then it just talks about like how the secret societies function, and then there's a little murder mystery sprinkled in.
It is actually a really good book to just go into not knowing anything.
This is true. It is. I didn't actually read the synopsis until I started reading.
I only knew secret societies.
That I knew it was about Yale and secret societies. I didn't know there was magic. I didn't know there was any of that. And so then I read the prologue and I was like, what in the heck is happening?
Yeah, it was wild.
The prologue is very good.
Prologue's amazing.
The prologue is very good.
Our friend Drew read it to us
in the car because
after we went. We went
to this bookstore to pick up our pre-order copy because you picked up the book and then got your ticket to have it signed. And so we went and picked up the book, and then Drew was like, I'm gonna read it. And we're like, well, don't read it without us. So he read the prologue in the car, and it was just like,
it was crazy.
It was insane. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's probably one of the best prologues I've ever read.
Yeah, because it's memorable. Like I can't totally remember. I can't remember if most books have prologues.
That prologue made me feel something so, I felt that prologue in my soul.
Yeah, no, it's so good.
It was very exciting. There is some spooky stuff that is a little bit hard to read, but it is, of, books that have covered the subject matter that it covers it very elegantly. Shout out to Leigh Bardugo.
Honestly,
love her. She's amazing. That book is amazing. You should read it or check it out, whatever you want. That's that. And what are you reading, watching?
TV-wise, I started watching this show called Prodigal Son.
Ooh.
I watch it on Hulu. I don't know what state, ABC, I don't know. It's Prodigal Son, and it's right up my alley. It is a cop show, but it is about the son of a serial killer.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if you watched Walking Dead.
I watched one episode and then they ate a horse and I said, I'm done.
Yes, they did. And one of the actors from Walking Dead is in it. Okay. He does a really good job. Okay. And it's very interesting, and it's kind of just like mystery, he helps them out on cases. They go around. It's the stereotypical formula show.
Yes.
So far, I think I've watched 4 episodes, but it's really good, and obviously he has some traumatic issues because of his father, who is still alive.
Oh boy, is he in jail?
He is.
Okay, that's kind of rough.
Yeah,
it's really psychological.
Oh, and I can't remember the actor's name that plays the dad, but I know he's in something, and he is a really good actor. Movies. I can't remember. Well, actually, the last movie I watched was Heathers.
Oh, so good.
For a little Halloween thing, because we dressed up like them for Halloween.
We did.
So I think that was the last movie I watched, which was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And then books, I'm still reading Ninth House. I haven't finished it yet, which Megan talked about.
Get hyped. Get hyped because it gets wild.
Yeah, it's really good so far, but I haven't been in the reading mood that much. I don't
Just
know
so
why.
you know, everyone, we are full-time college students also.
Yeah.
So midterms was last week.
Yeah.
So we are quite busy.
Yeah.
To say the least.
So I've been needing to finish that. I'm actually reading a couple books at the same time, which I don't usually do, which is why it's weird.
Yes.
So Ninth House, and then the other book is A Darker Shade of Magic, which is V.E. Schwab.
I wanted to.
I started reading it over this summer,
Mm-hmm.
and haven't finished it yet. But it's really good, and I think that's an interesting. It's going to be an interesting like magic system.
Ooh.
Because it's about.
That sounds fun.
There's like four or three different versions of London.
Oh.
There's like red London, black London, grey London, white London.
Oh.
And so it follows Kel, who's a messenger, who goes in between, and he's like describing all of them.
That's so fun.
It's very interesting. He's friends with like this prince. It's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
So there's different versions of like monarchs in each one, different
That's
kings.
Spicy.
It's really, really cool. And
Okay.
now that I'm talking about it, I want to finish it.
Okay.
Because it's a series too.
Ooh, how many books?
I think it's 4.
Ooh.
I think it's finished.
That's a lot.
There's 4 of them.
I say a lot after I read 7 Harry Potter books.
Yeah, I think there's 4 of them. And V.E. Schwab is an author that I bought a lot of books because I also got Vicious that she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have
I feel like
Our Dark Duet's the second one. The Savage Song. So she writes under 2 different monikers. She has V.E. Schwab, and then she's also Victoria Schwab.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't know how she differentiates them. I think it's something about adult and young adult.
Okay, are these young adult books?
So Darker Shade of Magic I would consider a young adult book,
Okay.
maybe new adult.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing like spicy in it that I would indicate that like a 16-year-old, 13-year-old could read it.
Yeah.
I think Vicious is an adult book,
Uh-huh.
and then The Savage Song is a young adult book.
Okay.
But I haven't read those last 2, but I've been wanting to. Yeah.
Some young adult books could be new adult because of the level of. We're gonna have an episode on that later because we have some new thoughts.
Yes.
Because there are some books that I've read that are young adult, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe this is too spicy for a child.
Yeah.
Because then I think about like my youngest brother is 14, and if I wouldn't want to hand him a book, I'd be like,
Yeah, and I like how young adult and teen are put into the same category. Like
because teen is different.
It's different.
What is teen? Teen is like
age-wise?
Yeah.
I'd say it's like 13 to like 16.
Yeah, young adult.
Young adults like
16.
Oh.
I would say 16.
I'd say 17.
Oh. Young
16,
adult,
17,
I started reading young adult books when I was like 14, which probably wasn't a great idea because then I read some books that were probably too...
Well, just think of the name young adult. I wouldn't consider a 16-year-old to be a young adult.
Oh, that's true. That's like middle teen.
That's why I feel like we'll get into it, but I feel like there's like needs to be some rebranding.
But anyway, we are digressing.
Yes, we will probably do a whole episode on that.
True.
So those are kind of our, I guess that's also our recommendations.
Yeah. We have an Instagram.
We do have an Instagram. If you go to I'm pretty sure it's just Chapter 0 Podcast.
Cool.
And we also have a Facebook. That's the same.
We will probably eventually have
content up on
a
that.
Twitter and maybe a Patreon. We are just getting started.
Yeah, we're just going to see where this takes us, kind of.
We also are full-time students.
Yeah.
So we're going to do our best to get episodes out.
And we'd love feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you just go onto our Instagram,
just
leave some comments, DM us, let us know what you want to hear
tell us.
about, or any constructive criticism.
Oh, please. Be nice.
Just because we don't know what we're doing.
We're really trying.
Yeah.
This is really just, we want to have fun. And we thought other people may like to hear what's going on.
Yeah, because these are conversations I feel like we just have on our own.
We'd have it over like food or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
But, yes.
So yeah, that's it for episode 1 of Prologues.
Yes. this was Prologues. This has been chapter 0. Yeah.
So, well,
that's all for now.
that's
Kids.
all for now.
Play the outro.